Future people focused, have a great self-perception.
Nowadays we are seeing more and more children dealing with anxiety or anxious children. Why do you think this is?
Well, I think there's a problem in that, first of all, anxious, stressed parents are modeling that for their children. But one problem that I'm seeing that's really pervasive in my practice, that didn't used to be, is the parent who cannot tolerate his or her children's distress. So they try to fix everything for them. And I'm seeing it at the university as well. I'm seeing parents of adult children calling the professors, calling the head of the housing department and saying that my daughter doesn't like her roommate, change it. I had one young man in my office who was starting the University of Michigan this September, and it was August, and I said, oh, what are you going to do? I'll call him Jimmy after our session. He said, and the University of Michigan is very difficult to get into. He's a real bright young man. And he said, well, my mother's going to drive me to the campus to see if there's anywhere that I can get a snack after dinner if I get hungry. I mean, it's just these helicopter parents who mean well, who really mean well, but what they're doing is they're depriving their youngsters from a belief that they can handle it. And then without that sense of self-agency, self-efficacy, that I can do it, it doesn't build the strength that they can cope with issues. And then it becomes an interesting, insidious cycle, because it isn't like these anxious children don't want their parents' help. They bring them in. They say, will you help me? I can't do this. Will you call my teacher? Will you help me with my homework? I'm really scared. Will you do this for me? So a loving parent who doesn't want to see her child distressed will be pulled into the child, and then she or he will fix it for them rather than saying, I know you can handle this. So that's what's happening in our world right now. That's a big concern to me.
So you've just explained to us why you think we're seeing more anxiety in children. How do you work with children and their parents on this topic?
Well, again, there's a lot of psychoeducation for the parent. One of the things that parents need to learn is how to handle their own distress when their children are distressed. It's a hard thing. I'm a parent and I have a grown-up son now, but it's very hard if you love your child and they're in distress. So I teach the parents the same techniques as I teach the children. For example, I teach children a breathing technique called the 4-square breathing. This is a really good technique for worriers. Essentially what you do is you breathe in to the count of 4, hold to the count of 4, exhale to the count of 4, pause to the count of 4, and then you have a visual component where you draw a line up the left side of the box, draw a line at the top of the box as you're holding, draw a line at the right side of the box as you're exhaling, and draw a line at the bottom and begin anew. This is a very good technique for worriers. Well, whenever I teach a technique like that to the child, I teach the technique to the mother and father so that they can manage their own emotionality, so that they can go into a place inside that says, I'm frightened that because he won't do his homework and says he hates school, that he's going to never go to university and he's going to work in a fast food restaurant and his life will be over. For them to be able to be calm enough to say that my child has resources and I have resources to help him believe that he has resources. And that probably there's not a lot of evidence that him not doing his homework right now is going to be catastrophic. What's the worst case scenario? He won't get into the first choice university. Can I live with that? May not like it, may not want it, but yeah, I can live with it. He may not like it, he may not want it, but he'll live with it. So I'm always working with the parents to help them contain their own reactivity to their children's anxiety. And it's hard for them.
Now, anxiety is your field of expertise. What is your advice to therapists working with overreacting people, with anxious people? What is something that you think everybody needs to consider when working with somebody who deals with anxiety?
Well, first of all, I think they need to have approaches that are not just talk therapy. I'm really passionate about that because every week I get a referral from someone who said they've been in talk therapy, supportive therapy, with this wonderful, nice therapist, but nothing is happening. Could I give you a case example of this? Some years ago, a woman came to me, and she had been in talk therapy for 7 years. She went into talk therapy because she was afraid of driving. Now, in many cities, that's not a problem. In Detroit, Michigan, the motor capital of the United States, it is a huge problem. We have terrible, terrible transportation. You really cannot be an independent adult without driving. And she was absolutely dependent on her husband to drive. And then she would take several buses downtown Detroit to get to work, but it was really stressful. And I talked about her talk therapy, and she said she learned a lot about her family dynamics. It was interesting, but she wanted to drive. And so I taught her self-hypnosis. I actually went driving with her, exposure therapy. I had her imagine driving, and within 2 months, she bought a red sports car.